If you spend any time around women's basketball right now, you can feel it. Caitlin Clark isn't just another rising WNBA star. She's become the kind of cultural force who changes how leagues think, how brands spend, and how fans show up. That's why a recent viral scenario, built around a simple text from Michael Jordan, hit such a nerve. It wasn't a real event, but the way people reacted to the idea said a lot about where Caitlin Clark sits in the sports landscape and how much leverage she may already have beyond the WNBA. The premise was simple. It imagined a late-night message from an unlisted North Carolina number, hitting phones from New York to Indianapolis. Grov 23, tomorrow, bring your clubs, -MJ. Grove 23 is Jordan's ultra-exclusive private golf course, the kind of place where tee times are favors, not bookings. The thought of the greatest men's basketball player ever reaching out directly to the face of women's basketball now, no agents, no league office, no corporate buffer, resonated immediately. The clip tied that imagined text to a real theme that's been slowly building. Caitlin Clark's value and her future might not be contained to the WNBA. The league needs her more than she needs any one platform. And if someone like Michael Jordan ever did decide to put real weight behind her, it could tilt the balance of power in women's sports very quickly. To understand how we got to a place where fans are even talking about that scenario, you have to look at what happens every time Clark steps into a gym, or even into another sport entirely. Not long ago, she took part in a high-profile Pro-Am golf event in Florida alongside big names from the LPGA. Even in that setting, where golf stars are supposed to be the draw, cameras and crowds gravitated toward her. There were no WNBA logos on her polo, no league handlers scripting her talking points, just Caitlin Clark, a set of golf clubs, and a broadcast truck slowly realizing that every time she swung the driver, viewership spiked. Imagine details in the viral script. Her out driving expectations, Nelly Corda looking over, the gallery abandoning other groups to follow her, weren't that hard to picture because they fit a real pattern. Wherever she goes, the audience follows. TV numbers go up. Social clips trend. People who don't normally tune into women's sports stick around. The LPGA, at least hypothetically, embraces that energy. They pair her with a world number one. They mic her up. They let her personality carry segments instead of warning her not to outshine anybody. For a lot of women's basketball fans, that contrast between a golf tour hungry to feature her and the WNBA that is still figuring out how to balance her spotlight with that of longtime veterans is where tension comes in. Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner, has a difficult job. She has to grow the league, bring in new sponsors, negotiate media rights, and keep players who fought for years to put the W on the map feeling valued. The arrival of Clark, and to a slightly different extent Angel Reese and others from a loaded 2024 draft class, has forced the league to navigate a completely new level of attention. Some fans feel the WNBA has been slow or cautious in embracing just how much Clark has moved the needle. They point to certain nights where she's dropped big numbers, and the league's social channels seem to highlight other storylines. They remember physical games where she took hard fouls, and post-game statements from the league were minimal or non-existent. Supporters of that view say the league is trying to spread the love and not make it everything about one rookie, even as ticket sales, road crowds, and viewership clearly spike whenever 22 in a fever jersey shows up. Others push back and argue that balancing the promotion of one breakout star with respect for established players is the right thing to do. They remind people that the WNBA has been built over 28 seasons by women who didn't have Clark's platforms or NIL deals and played through far less support. To them, what might look like under-promotion of Caitlin Clark is actually an attempt to keep the focus on the league as a whole, not just one player. Angel Reese often gets dragged into that conversation, whether she wants to or not. Their college rivalry, the on-court trash talk, the NCAA tournament rematches, all of it fed a media storyline that sometimes feels bigger than either of their individual careers. Risa's social media posts, her Bayou Barbie and now Chicago persona, and the fact that she's been vocal about her background and what she represents all make her an easy figure for fans to cast as a counterweight to Clark. In reality, both are drawing new fans to the WNBA. Both are being used, fairly or unfairly, as symbols in larger debates about race, media bias, and how women's sports should look as they grow. But the viral MJ script honed in on something different. What happens if Caitlin Clark chooses, intentional or not, to step outside the WNBA's frame? That's where the MJ element matters. Jordan knows what it's like to be told to stay in a lane. In his early days, there were executives who wanted him to be less flashy, less aggressive about his brand, less individualistic. His response was to become so dominant and so marketable that the league had no choice but to reorient around him. The very idea of an NBA global icon was practically invented in his era.
He's also someone who has built a profitable empire with Nike through the Jordan brand, an empire that now includes WNBA and college women's basketball athletes. If he ever decided to plant a flag next to Caitlin Clark and say this is my pick to carry the next generation, the shockwaves wouldn't just stay in basketball. The imagined visit to Grov 23, his private golf course, is really a metaphor for that kind of alignment. It's not about the 18 holes of golf. It's about a private, direct conversation between the greatest men's player of all time and the most impactful young women's player in the country, talking not just about jump shots, but about ownership, branding, and autonomy. Even if that scenario is exaggerated for effect, the business logic behind it is not. Clark is already a dream for sponsors. Her jersey sales, NIL deals back at Iowa, and now her Fever ticket impact are public record. A brand like Nike would absolutely explore ways to extend her beyond a typical women's basketball signature shoe lane. A dual sport concept, basketball and golf, or basketball plus something else, would be ambitious, but not impossible in the current market. A single image of Michael Jordan with his arm around Caitlin Clark on a tee box at Grove 23, posted from his account with nothing but a crown emoji, would undeniably explode across every platform. People joked in the script about Twitter crashing, Instagram begging for mercy, TikTok pushing the clip to every user. It's an exaggeration, but not by much. We've already seen how quickly Clark-related content can take over the feeds. If that ever became real, the questions for the WNBA would be immediate and sharp. Does the league see itself as the gravity around which Caitlin Clark orbits, or one of several environments where she chooses to operate? How do they position themselves if she becomes a truly global figure, tied as tightly to Jordan brand and cross-sport projects as she is to the Fever schedule? The hypothetical Nike global brand strategy deck mentioned in that script, one slide with projected revenue if Clark becomes a multi-sport signature athlete, another with projected losses if the WNBA tries to limit or manage her exposure, is exactly the kind of conversation large companies have behind closed doors. Clark's ability to move product and draw viewers isn't a feeling. There are hard numbers to back it up. And then there's the human side of all this. People who have followed her story from West Des Moines to Iowa City to Indianapolis recognize certain constants. The early morning solo workouts, the loaded laundry basket instead of a rebounding machine, the way she turned Iowa women's basketball from niche to headline news, the sold-out arenas with little kids in 22 jerseys, white, black, brown, holding signs saying, "I drove 8 hours to see you," or "I want to shoot like Caitlin." When she got to the WNBA, the game got more physical. The defense is more intense, the chatter louder. There were controversial fouls, some clear cheap shots, and days where it seemed like every talk show wanted a piece of the Caitlin Clark discourse. Through it, she kept playing her game, kept putting up numbers, and kept stopping after games to sign for kids and look them in the eye. That combination, lethal competitor and grounded, approachable public figure, is rare. It's the same blend of fearlessness and humility that helped Jordan resonate beyond his era. You can see why people would draw a line between those two, even if their circumstances are very different. For current WNBA players, the idea of Clark linking directly with Jordan or any external power player has to feel complicated. On one hand, elevating any one star can pull all boats up with the tide. On the other, it can deepen the feeling that one player's stardom is being prioritized at their expense. Those emotions are already simmering in the league. Some veterans have voiced frustration with how much oxygen Clark and her rookie class have taken up. Others have acknowledged her impact while still asking for more love for the players who built the platform she's now standing on.
If a real photo of Jordan and Clark at Grov 23 ever did hit the internet, captioned with nothing but a crown emoji, you can bet the reactions would mirror what the script imagined. Hashtags exploding, think pieces being written in real time, current players posting their own swings, their own highlights, and their own opinions, some congratulatory, some defensive. Behind all the noise, one truth would still be there. Caitlin Clark's ascent is forcing every space she enters, WNBA, NCAA, LPGA, brand marketing, even hypothetically Jordan's own world, to rethink its assumptions. For the WNBA specifically, that means figuring out how to fully leverage a generational star without dimming the light of others, and how to embrace her growing power rather than fear it. The viral MJ Tech story was fiction, but it resonated because it pointed at something real. Caitlin Clark has already grown into more than just another WNBA player. She's a central figure in the future of women's basketball and possibly women's sports more broadly. The leagues and organizations around her will either adapt to that reality or watch as someone else with a Jumpman logo on their chest helps her build something beyond their reach.